Next on the agenda, House File 5156, the Majority Leader, Representative Long. Welcome, Leader Long. Please proceed. And I understand that you have an amendment for reference. Please proceed with the amendment and then go on with your presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, each state is allowed to send 2 statues to Congress to represent them. Minnesota's 2 statues currently are Maria Sanford, installed in 1958, and Henry Maurer Rice, installed in 1916. Like Minnesota, many states have chosen to submit 1 civic leader and 1 political leader. For example, Kansas has sent Amelia Earhart and Dwight Eisenhower. California has sent Father Junipero Serra and Ronald Reagan. Maria Sanford, I believe, has stood the test of time. An education pioneer, she was one of the first women to serve as a college professor. Mr. Maurer Rice was an early leader in our state in helping facilitate statehood and served as one of its first U.S. senators. But in the more than a century since Mr. Maurer Rice's statue was sent, Minnesotans have accomplished much on the national stage. I believe it is indisputable that the Minnesotan who has had the greatest impact on national politics is Hubert Humphrey. The process to change a statue is that the state has to pay for a new statue to be made, for it to be shipped to D.C., and to ship the existing statue back to Minnesota. And that is what the bill before us would do today. We would use the design of the Humphrey statue that stands on our own state capitol grounds and would ensure that the Maurer Rice statue finds a suitable location to be displayed in Minnesota. Perhaps a certain historic square in Rice County might be an appropriate location for it. I am proposing that our state update this important representation of a statue in our nation's capital to reflect the history that has transpired since 1916 and select Hubert Humphrey to represent us. And I'd like to turn my remaining time to noted Humphrey biographer James Traub.
Thank you, Leader Long. Mr. Traub, please identify yourself and proceed.
My name is James Traub. I'm a journalist and a historian, and I'm the author of True Believer, Hubert Humphrey's Quest for a More Just America. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about Humphrey's achievements. Hubert Humphrey was one of the towering figures of 20th century American politics, a liberal champion and a resolute pragmatist who was not only willing but eager to compromise, to work with rivals in order to advance the public good. Though in the course of his career, Humphrey was associated with an astonishing array of issues: labor rights, full employment, nuclear disarmament, foreign aid, the Peace Corps, I'd like to focus my remarks today on the great cause of his life, civil rights. Humphrey grew up in the all-white world of small-town South Dakota, yet his hatred of injustice and his unwavering faith in human equality shaped his politics from the moment he took office as mayor of Minneapolis in 1945. At this time, the great obstacle to national civil rights legislation was the southern wing of the Democratic Party. At the 1948 Democratic Convention, the 37-year-old Mayor Humphrey, already a national figure, was chosen by his fellow liberals to lead what looked like a futile struggle to include in the party's platform a commitment to end Jim Crow law. Senior party officials, including President Truman's political advisors, warned Humphrey that if he went through with his plans, he would divide the party and cost it the upcoming election and, not incidentally, destroy his own career. Humphrey agonized over the decision before concluding that he had to do the right thing, whatever the cost. In a speech heard by perhaps 60 million Americans, Humphrey told the delegates that the time had come for America, quote, to get out of the shadow of states' rights and walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights. Miraculously, Humphrey's plank passed, committing the party then and forever after to civil rights. That November, Humphrey was elected to the Senate from Minnesota. The most gregarious of men, he soon befriended members of both parties and most of the leading Southerners. From Lyndon Johnson, he learned the arts of legislation. In 1964, President Johnson asked Humphrey to guide the Civil Rights Act through the Senate. The Southerners locked the chamber into an interminable filibuster. And through patience, guile, charm, discipline, and sheer hard work, Humphrey and his lieutenants broke the filibuster, and the Senate passed the most important civil rights law since Reconstruction. As vice president, and in his return to the Senate for the last years of his life, Hubert Humphrey remained a passionate defender of civil rights. But in those two moments, 1948 and 1964, he transformed and elevated our nation. Humphrey was a modest man who never ceased to feel gratitude for his good fortune. We today owe him our thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Majority Leader Long. I have signed on as a co-author of this bill, not because I'm a tremendous admirer of Hubert Humphrey and the things that he did, but because I think it is certainly more fitting at this time in 2024 that we have someone in Washington who has the stature of the last century behind him, whereas, I think the memories of Henry Rice and his time have passed us by. I certainly am not in favor of doing anything adverse to the statue of Henry Rice. Bring him home. We could start the Bring Henry Home campaign here and find a suitable place for him where he would be more meaningful to the people of Minnesota, just as we would have a more meaningful representative of Minnesota in Washington. I will say that I did meet Hubert Humphrey once when I, Representative Pawlowski, was Vice President of the Student Association of St. Cloud State. There was a reception, and the Senator Humphrey had spoken, and so we went over across the street to the reception in the Student Center, and a young lady accompanied me in this, and we went through the line and met Senator Humphrey. And we stayed around a little bit, and then across the hall, we were going out the door to leave, and darn if Senator Humphrey didn't yell across the room, "Watch out for him, Mary, he's a Republican." And that was my contact with Senator Humphrey.
Leader Long.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Thank you, Representative Erdahl. I love that story, and I think it does speak to Hubert Humphrey's willingness to, engage with all types, right? And as Mr. Traub noted, he was a noted bipartisan in the Senate and one who fought as often with his own party as with the other party, particularly on civil rights.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Mr. I might add, he was laughing when he said it.
Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Long. Like Representative Erdahl, I think history shouldn't be hidden. I think history should be embraced. We just heard from one of our other applicants this morning or this afternoon saying history is very important and we should be celebrating history. So if we want to exchange, for lack of a better word, the two, is there somewhere else on the capital area where we could still take person? And I say this just because I just want to see, I don't want to see history erased. I want to see history embraced, because if there are mistakes made by any of us and we're touted in history later as we're great people, and then we find out our mistakes are bad, it still shouldn't affect the history that was made. So I would hope somewhere we could find somewhere for Mr. Rice's statute so that it can help history. That's
Leader-
just a statement. Thank you, Mr.
Leader Long.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Thank you, Representative Scraba. That is certainly the intent. The intent is to bring the statue back home and to find a location in Minnesota that would be suitable, where Minnesotans could see the statue more often than tucked away in the current corner in Statuary Hall where it is now, among the less notable statues. That's kind of where its home is at the moment. And I think we could find a home in Minnesota where it could be seen more regularly.
Leader Long, I will take that as your closing comment then.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you, Chair Lee.